Quantitative analysis, numerical concepts, general mathematical concepts. Before we can start solving simple algebraic equations, we need to have a general understanding of various mathematical concepts. Therefore, I'll start with general terms and notations. A whole number is basically a number that uses 10 digits ranging from 0 to 9, whereas a decimal number is considered a part number and is separated by a point, a decimal point, though in some countries a comma is used instead. A prime number is a whole number that has exactly two factors, and when we say factors, we're saying numbers that can be divided into a whole number, and the factors must be itself and 1. Therefore 2 is considered a prime number because it can be divided evenly by 2 itself and 1. Also 3 is considered a prime number because it can evenly be divided by 3 itself and 1. A composite number therefore is a positive whole number that has more than two factors. For example, the number 4 can be divided evenly by 4, 2 and 1. Also the number 6 is a composite number because it can evenly be divided by 6, 3, 2 and 1. We also have indices, and these are numbers that have been raised to the power of something. For example, if a number is raised to the power of 2, then the number is being squared. If the number is raised to the power of 3, then the number is being cubed. Therefore, to give you an example, 3 raised to the power of 2, or 3 squared, is the same as saying 3 multiplied by 3, which equals 9. 3 raised to the power of 3, or 3 cubed, is the same as saying 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3, which gives us 3 multiplied by 3 is 9, and 9 multiplied by 3 is 27. The root symbol, or root numbers, are the opposite of squared numbers. Therefore, the root of 9 is 3. There are two inequality symbols shown on screen. The first is the greater than symbol and the second is the less than symbol, and these indicate if the number before the symbol or the inequality sign is greater than or equal to the following number, the number that comes after the inequality sign. There are also rules for calculating positive and negative numbers. So let's have a look firstly at the addition and the subtraction rule. Looking at the addition rule, if we add a positive number with a positive number, then we arrive at a positive solution. If we add a negative number with a negative number, then we will arrive at a negative solution. The solution for the next two examples will depend on the size of the numbers. Therefore, a positive plus a negative and a negative plus a positive will equal either a positive or negative number depending on the size of the values. Subtraction rule. When you subtract a positive number with a positive number, you can either arrive at a positive or a negative number. The same goes if you subtract a negative number with a negative number. Again, this will depend on the size or the value of the numbers being included in your calculation. Though a positive number minus a negative number will always give you a positive number, because when two negative symbols are noted together, those symbols change to a positive. A negative subtracting a positive will always equal a negative. So let's work through workbook exercise 4A, question C. 4 plus negative 9 equals negative 5. I simply look at the negative 9 and I add 4 to this number, though in reverse order. So negative 9 plus 1 equals negative 8 plus 1 equals negative 7 plus 1 equals negative 6 plus 1 equals negative 5. Let's have a look at workbook exercise 4A, question E. negative 18 minus 9. We need to rewrite this so it's expressed as negative 18 plus negative 9. Therefore, negative 18 plus negative 9 equals negative 27. Let's have a look at the multiplication and the division rule. The rule simply states that when you are multiplying or dividing an even number of negatives, your answer will always be a positive. When you are multiplying or dividing an odd number of negatives, your answer will always be a negative. So for example, if I multiply a negative with a negative, it will provide me with a positive solution. If I divide a positive with a negative, I will always arrive at a negative solution. Let's work through workbook exercise 4B, question B. 3 multiplied by negative 11 multiplied by 2. Now because this equation has one negative, my solution automatically will equal a negative value. So I'm going to place that there in readiness for my answer. 3 multiplied by 11 is 33. 33 multiplied by 2 is 66. So the answer is negative 66. Let's work through exercise 4B, question G. You will notice in this example there are 3 negatives. So let's see what our solution will be. We must first work within our brackets. 9 divided by negative 3 equals negative 3 plus 1. So we'll just keep that in brackets for now. Multiplied by negative 3 divided by negative 2. There are 2 negatives in that division, therefore it's a positive answer, which will be 3. Minus 3 plus 1 equals minus 2. Multiplied by 3 equals negative 6, because there is one negative in our calculation. Now the last rules that we need to look at is called the BIMDAS rule, and this rule tells us the order in which we should complete our calculation. When we solve a calculation, we tend to solve it from left to right, though we also need to consider the BIMDAS rules in doing this. So the rule states that we must first work out all calculations inside our brackets. We then calculate all indices, for example something that is to the power of 2 or to the power of 3. We must complete all multiplication and divisions before we complete any additions and subtractions. So let's have a look at the following example. 5 multiplied by 4 plus, we must do the calculation inside the bracket first, which is 18 divided by 3, and then we multiply by 2. So I'm going to bracket together 5 multiplied by 4, and then I'm going to add. We need to complete the 18 divided by 3, which equals 6, and then we'll multiply this by 2. I've placed that in brackets so I know that I complete these calculations together. So for the next step, 5 multiplied by 4 is 20, plus 6 multiplied by 2 is 12. So we finish with 20 plus 12 equals 32.